GM.
Hey, what's good?
Good morning.
Yeah, what's up? How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. I believe you should mute the filament account. It's
Yeah, it's just is
it
it
should be
okay now?
visible.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining in. I would just like see a couple of more minutes, more people will join in, but just first of all, why we are doing this, Say V2 has come out, more and more DeFi projects are joining in, and it's a kind of a transition for Say as well from the previous narrative, and then a lot of DeFi projects are joining in, and what we want to do with these is like as a community coming together, it's like making a community resource that invites more and more people in, and we have like a repository of all DeFi projects that are building within Say ecosystem. What's exciting happening, and then we kind of like start putting that out for broader audience to know something nuances of what we saw in the last spaces was that a lot of projects are building some very noble products, and kind of they're different. They are something that very specifically built for a high performance chain. So that's where we're ready to learn here today as well. Today we are joined by an amazing co-host, Jen, who is from Bangkok. She's been very active, very helpful in just like making this come to life as well, like right from the last spaces as well. A huge shout out to the Carbon DeFi Bangkok team to be a great support. And they're also OGs in the space and now also OGs in Say V2 ecosystem. And we have two amazing projects today and have got a chance to speak earlier with one of these projects as well. So Yaka Finance and Mona. Why don't you guys come up and like maybe first give a quick introduction about yourselves, and then we can dive deeper from there. Probably Jen, do you want to start maybe?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to co-host. And I'm really glad to be on this one, especially because I haven't been able to connect with either of these projects yet. So I'm really excited to meet them and to really hear more about what it is they're building. Um, I am, as you said, a contributor at Bancor and Carbon DeFi. Carbon DeFi is Bancor's flagship protocol. It is an order book like DEX, but serves as a piece of infrastructure for other projects as well. So it has many different use cases that I'm really looking to explore with everyone and really kind of offer and provide these sorts of services and use cases to them. It is very much do you want to mute really quickly? Just so. Oh, awesome. Okay. We hear you typing. You're very busy. Um, it is for liquidity providers and traders, but also for projects as well. And so to explore this kind of from the ground up with the community, with the other projects, and everyone else building is really very exciting for us. So happy to be here and happy to really explore everything that Bancor and Carbon DeFi has to bring to Say and to the community and to these other projects that we're building alongside.
Awesome. Mona team, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Super.
Yes.
Super. And nice to be here. So this is Lorenzo from Monna. I'm one of the founding members of the team. We've been working for like 6 months. I feel very old now, to be honest, on Say. But yet we have some more road to in front of us. So we've been kind of slow in the last period. There's a lot of complex technical stuff that we need to complete, but hopefully in 1 month and a half we could be on mainnet finally. And Monna, by the way, what is it? So we take inspiration from something which is out there. We're not really inventing something new. We just try to adapt it and make it better. Okay, so there was Gearbox. Some logics from Gearbox are very interesting, and we're trying to bring this first on Say. The idea is we automate. It's kind of like what you're doing, Jen, with Carbon DeFi. Just we're not concentrating on trading automation. It's mostly about traditional, if we can call it traditional, degen activity. So we automatize looping at its core. And from there, now we have our agenda. So it's our first integration partner should be Silo as soon as we get to the point in which we could deploy. Then we're going to focus on some lending markets and eventually some DEXs as well. So at the end of the day, we should serve any kind of DeFi user, but it's going to take some time. So
That's amazing. Yaka Finance.
Yo, what's good? Yeah, I think I should introduce myself. So, I'm Race from Yaga Finance, aka the marketing manager. So, Yaga Finance is a VE through DEX or Solidly Fork. So basically, we can provide a super efficient bribe efficiency compared to other DEX platforms. Basically, we use a flywheel. We call it the VE tokenomics. But it's still quite a different. It's still quite different from what Curve is doing right now. For example, the V token on Yaka Finance will be transferable because it's a ERC 721 token. So basically, it gives the lockers a bit liquidity in terms of trading V Yaka. And yeah, that's it. We've just concluded our stage 2 of testnet campaign, and we're going to launch our mainnet soon.
Amazing. That's great. Like start two things. We have Gearbox. I love Gearbox actually, and like the product that they've created, kind of markets are creating, and to have that on Say as well is amazing. Kind of. And then Curve, of course, everybody knows how much efficient has brought in. Everyone finds some inspiration. We ourselves have found out some inspiration from Curve in terms of the bribing system for our users on chain. So that's pretty interesting. We always start with this question here, and Jen, please jump in if you have something to add on. Is that why did you choose to build on Say? In respect, there are so many different L2s, so many different L1s coming in. Why did you, as a DeFi project, chose Say? Mona team, do you want to go first?
yeah, sure. So I think like anything in life, it's a sum of factors. So first of all, me and the team behind Mon have been analyzing, say, for about a year and a half now, a little bit more. So since late 2022, early 2023. We did a lot of research on that, and we became friends with some people on the team. So at the end of the day, months passed by, DeFi compatibility, at least the selling point that Say is DeFi first, was there, was the narrative. And we said, look, let's do 1+1, which start on Say. So transaction finality, of course, helps. There's a lot of things that make an automatized platform, modern product like Mona for DeFi, better suited on Say than somewhere else. At least that's our bet. Let's see. Let's see how it goes.
Amazing. Racer, do you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're actually, one of the oldest projects that are that have been building on Say. Pretty much, I'm super confident to say that. We've actually been here, we've actually been around for quite some time. I think it's been a year now. I joined the team quite late. I believe it's February this year, but I know Yaka Finance exists since like pretty much around this time last year. So yeah, basically, what I know of, the team background and also the history. Basically, the team we're looking for a new playground for developing DeFi because our product manager, which is the core of our team, are a pretty experienced guy in terms of doing researches and DeFi analysis in terms of specifically in V3 model, right? So by that time, we already have like a lot of V3 dexes. For example, the most famous one, Velodrome. I think they get fund support from Coinbase. That's why they launched Aerodrome on Base as well. And the other successful product of V33 is Thena. So Thena is from BNB Chain, and it's quite interesting to compare all these like different V3 models and see what are the nuances between them so that they can have the bribe efficiency even higher. And then we sort of like came up the idea of doing a liquidity wrapper for VVelo. That was like before this like before the Yaka Finance, right? But due to some like reasons, we stopped that project and sort of like develop our own decks instead. So that's why we choose a new chain. And by that moment, Say is quite pumped, and I think it's before the airdrop of Say token actually. So by that time, we know that Say is a super uh, efficient and DeFi specific chain because it has like super fast time to finality and also all these like transaction speed, right? So yeah, so that's how we got in touch with Say, and yeah, actually, I think back in September last year, in one of the hackathons that Say hosted in Singapore, I believe it's during Token 24/9. Our team joined and won number one, so we actually secured a grant from the Say Foundation, and all we're preparing right now is the mainnet launch so that we can sort of like maximize the power of the grants. We're gonna give all the grant out that we receive as bribes to all the Viyaka holders. Yeah, so with all these like parallelization of EVM and also compatibility with EVM, I think that's like something that comes afterward, like after we sort of like decided to build on Say. But I think it's a good thing, right? So EVM compatibility definitely brings new users and sort of like lower down the entry barrier for developers as well. Because I know that before, Say was a Rust chain, and Rust developers are usually very highly paid, and I think it's only like 10% of all the developer communities. So I think being EVM compatible and also Solidity friendly is also a good way to boost um, DeFi adoption.
That's amazing. Definitely a very important and interesting point I brought up is like Rust, initially because it was an implementation in the previous version of Say, and now having this interoperability between both the native environment of building in CosmWasm and interoperability between Solidity side, EVM side is pretty interesting. One thing that it's an open question to the floor is thinking about how are you thinking about getting users? Is like your initial user going to come from the EVM side, or you're trying to draw like these users who were on the CosmWasm side into the EVM side of Say? And if so, like what's your thought process in getting those users? And what are some of the strategies that you're using?
Who wants to start?
Go ahead,
Sure.
Lorenzo. Go ahead.
So there's not really, I'm not sharing any decision, okay? It's all work in progress and we adapt. But overall, if I can give a couple of points where we could think upon. So there's two things. Personally, I would go with targeting the first community available. So the Say community. You create a stronghold and hopefully you get that halo effect within the community. If somebody sees and has his eyeballs on something which is happening on, say, Twitter, whatever, events, whatever. If we were as a single-ended project within Say and Say only to target people outside of Say, anywhere, any other ecosystem, I think that is not the core focus of a project. Now, this being said, it should be the Sei team doing that work for us, right? Ideally. But it's real and it's true that if we're seeing, I'm just saying a stupid example, so take it as a grain of salt. Pump.fun in Solana, on Solana became a huge success. Solana was a success even before Pump.fun. But the attention that Pump.fun has generated in the past months for Solana was incredible. So from a certain point of view, you could say the project has helped boost the ecosystem and not the other way around. But ideally, I would see the first option. So Sei should target people outside of Sei and bring them on board. And then whatever they discover on Sei, it's up to us to make ourselves look better than than the competitors. If we may describe ourselves as competitors, of course. But that's not the case. So that's my thoughts.
Racers, Jen, do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like a collaborative effort, right? Like I hear what you're saying, Lorenzo. And then I think, this is why we're kind of having these spaces also. Like, yes, it's to speak to the community and to, have them see what it is that the builders are doing and who we actually are, right? To get to meet us and to be able to interact with them and say speaks on such a different level. Like they have such a platform as opposed to a lot of us do, right? Like, and I say that personally. My reach is only so far. So I see that sort of collaborative effort and us being able to really stand out and say, like, we are all building something different, whether we're adapting and taking something and making it better, like you were saying earlier in the call, or if we're bringing some sort of new technology and new offering, like Bancor has created in Carbon DeFi. I think it's a combination of all of those things in, like the entire, you would look at the bigger vision of the strategy, the go-to-market strategy for all of us combined. I will say for me, with Carbon DeFi, I think it's like you had started saying, Lorenzo, in the beginning. It's really speaking to the Say community, engaging with them and giving them an understanding of what it is that you're offering and why it's different and where they can really see that benefit, how it can benefit them, and they can really make use of it. That would stand out from maybe not even other projects, but um, just stand out in general, right? So I think there's that in terms of like retail sort of users, if you want to consider it that. I think for, because Carbon DeFi is also a piece of infrastructure at its core, it's kind of the same thing, really just engaging with other builders. And that's why I enjoy the spaces so much, is learning about other projects and where we can help them. What can we provide them to really kind of build out? I know I speak to Carbon DeFi most often, but Bancor has also deployed another protocol on Say, which is the ARP Fastlane. And this is a permissionless arbitrage bot that has many different use cases. One, it's built into Carbon DeFi to execute orders, right? It accesses chain wide liquidity, it executes these orders, it fills these orders, but it serves so many different purposes in addition to that. And so it's like making that available to the community to use, to learn how, like, this new trading tool, right? That's just readily available to them, but then what purpose it can serve throughout the rest of the ecosystem as well. So I think there are a few different angles that Carbon DeFi, that Bancor is really working on, depending on what that specific use case and demographic is.
Very solid points there. Racer, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, actually, I don't have too much insight to share, but we've actually been building for quite a while. But to be honest, we're not like super into the Cosmos and space. So I believe the attention that Say is really getting is mostly from the EVM side of things. What we can actually do is, I pretty much agree with what Jen was saying. So we have to develop a good strategy in terms of go to market to get user acquisition. And I think the most important thing for what the Say builders, or specifically Say DeFi builders, can do is of course, is to collaborate more, because DeFi work as a whole system. All parts of the DeFi, they will work. They're not going to work individually, right? For example, if you are launching a perp dex on say, people will trade, of course, but perp dexes these days usually work with model that all these liquidity providers can also benefit from it, right? So with that specific feature, that comes up the I would say like demand for more liquidity in terms of the LP side. For example, if you're Mona, if you're Yay Finance, if you're any other lending protocols, basically you can use that LP token as the collateral to sort of enhance capital efficiency. So what we can actually do is first of all build all the infrastructure that is needed for all the DeFi protocols, and second of all, more partnerships and more integrations. I would say, like in terms of product level, we definitely as a DEX would love to integrate as many assets as possible on the Say ecosystem. But single-handedly we cannot do anything on our own, right? We have to, for example, like provide a space for our holders to max utilize their Yaka token or any other LP tokens they hold. So essentially, DeFi itself, because I am a DeFi builder, so I can only speak about DeFi. Um, we have to form an ecosystem, right? So the ecosystem is actually something that Say needs, right? So DeFi nowadays they slowly became, I would say, like the infrastructure or the underlying layer of a chain, so that when a chain has liquidity, when a chain has like everything that DeFi needs, it will be more welcoming to the new users.
I hear you all. I feel very solid points. And, I can resonate a lot to this. I think so. Two interesting points that I want to highlight based on some of the things that you guys have also shared is one great example was like how Pump.Fund got a lot of success with Solana, but also was able to contribute back and bring more attention to Solana. It's like how it becomes a two-way street. If you have something that offers you to build something unique, then you leverage that and then sort of like start to expand and bring more attention. I think so that in terms of say provides in terms of speed, and for us as like a perp dex, we are trying to leverage that speed, make a system that works very fast along with this. The other aspect is like how do projects come together? A same example comes from Solana. I think so. The a recent success for Solana has come down from is like, and a lot of people talk about this, is how collaborative the entire ecosystem comes together. Whether that's like recent launch of Blinks or like in general, like any new project launching and their um, initiative coming up, all the projects come together in a way to support that and sort of like whether that's with integration, whether that's with infusing their community into that new project. I think that's a very unique culture. Something that what we're trying to do with these probably like spaces, right? We all are builders in this in say ecosystem, and I think so the biggest advantage that we can create, because say is so like say DeFi ecosystem is so new, for us all to come together, support each other, create these unique opportunities. A great example what Jen mentioned, like arbitrage bots. Everyone needs it. If they're like two different applications, giving users that opportunity, hey, you can like buy this asset here, sell here, or buy here, or sell other place, kind of like gives that unique sort of like what you're creating is a network of the things that a user can do and making it more and more easier for users to do that. And so that's pretty interesting. I think so. Lorenzo wants to mention something. Please hop in, Lorenzo.
No, yeah, I thought you were hinting to the fact that you wanted to see like some kind of super team Say edition to carry out some offsites here and there and cultivate the community. But you were speaking more about the tech itself. So of course, which is fundamental. But I would applaud and support an idea of creating some sort of super team idea for Say worldwide. That would be nice.
100%. I think so. There's right now there's no competition to what like Super Team has been able to do. That like the local regional attention that takes like full journey through for anyone who wants to get in, whether they're a user, community member, builder, investor, um, and like have an opportunity to be very early in some of these. And so I've seen that communities grow. I think so. There is S3 Labs that is trying to do that for Say. I'm not sure like exactly what their mandate is, but I do know that there is a team that is trying to do something like that. But I think so. Like in my opinion, nothing to like throw out there as like a doubt, but I still feel like Say is pretty early on in their stage, like where there has to be like finding this clear definition of what the inclination is and kind of where the focus is. And I think so that's what is developing with say V2, where like say V1 maybe was very heavily focused on NFTs, and initially in between there was this meme coin kind of like their steam was growing, but it didn't translate. And now there's like this huge focus on the DeFi side also. So when in and this could be like a good segue to asking, what do you perceive like when say you're pitching to people outside and say, hey, we're building this project on Say? What is the general response that you feel and get, and how do you think this maybe that this perception could be made even better? And if it is not there, what could be some of the things that can be changed to get that narrative for Say? Because I think so right now. A lot of people are confused if there's any DeFi happening on Say, although there's so many different projects have launched there. The TVL is growing significantly. It has grown 10x actually put out today itself, like since 1st of January. So there's a lot of happening, but what do you guys think is like when you talk about your building on Say, what's the first impression, what people think about, and like what could be done better, or what would you change in respect of like saying, okay, people really know that this is an interesting venue to be in. Um, let's start with Bracer. Why don't you go there? If
Um, so I want to talk about what Say is actually missing right now. So I think a good example of how a public chain's ecosystem work could be Mantle. So Mantle is layer two of Ethereum. What they've been actually building for the past year is to kind of like introducing a lot of like I would say like underlying assets to the chain. For example, they partner with Mountain Protocol and yeah, what's the other one? I forgot the name of it, but it's like a like RWA stablecoin project, right? So they kind of like introduce these projects and have a very close partnership with them in terms of integrating USDV and USDM, right? So these are stable coins that with yield, specifically with the real yield, right? And upon that, they on the technical aspect, they also introduced the restaking model on Mental. I think that's before EigenLayer actually came out, right? So then they have METH, which is another LST for ETH. And then they recently, I believe they introduced FBTC as well. So I think Bitcoin Fi is a big thing this year, and they really caught up with the narrative. So I think with these, I would say like native assets with yield on Mental, they provide a super friendly environment for all these like underlying assets, right? So like on the public chain level, users can already get access to so many different blue chip assets. So what Say is actually missing right now is the this kind of like opportunity. So I understand that Say being a public layer one blockchain, right? So it doesn't have to be like super. I would say like you pretty much won't get like a super high adoption in terms of the ETH related assets, right? But it's always cool to have some kind of like LST or LRT assets on Say, because that's the most important thing for the past year in DeFi. So I would say we couldn't see much like new things coming up. All we have to do is to introduce all these like new assets. So right now, I believe some of the blue chip assets on Say include USDT and USDC. I believe that's pretty much it. We don't have like any other options to to build on. So as V3 Dex, we like fully believe in the flywheel, so we definitely want more type of assets, coming to say. So for example, what Panda Finance and what okay, so yeah, let's forget about Panda Finance. They're not like a V3 Texas, but they actually had a huge success, for the past year. And also Velodrome and Aerodrome, they've been successful this year as well, because they've been building on layer twos of Ethereum, and that's why they introduced a lot of assets that's been popping this year, I would say. So you can see like pretty much like a huge adoption rate for these assets, right? And some of the restaking protocols have been listed on Binance as well. For example, Renzo Finance, and EtherFi, I believe. Yeah, would love to see more on that. And I think the situation is becoming better, because we've seen Stargate supporting Wrap ETH on Say. All we need is pretty much the liquidity for Wrap ETH. I believe the Say Foundation will have some sort of support to Wrap ETH. And with rapid ETH, circulating in the Say ecosystem, we believe we will have like a bigger adoption, because most whales or most like DeFi users nowadays, they have like many ETH, right? So yeah, that's a good thing, and I believe it's also like what's been missing in the Say ecosystem.
Lorenzo, do you want to go next?
Hey, so no, sorry. To be honest, I just lost a bit the conversation point.
Yeah, it was about like when you talk about Say, you were building on Say. What is the external perspective that you get, and what would you like to make it in that sense better, or something like you would like to change? Like how does like people perceive DeFi on Say in general?
Mm. But look, so maybe I'm not the most suitable person to answer. I'm not really a technician, okay? So I think we're speaking really about the basics here. It's
No,
more
I'm,
about
I'm
the
talking.
technology.
I'm talking
No, no,
more
yeah, I know. I'm
about the
just
user here. So when you talk
from the
about
user
like,
perspective.
from a user
Okay.
perspective, you
But
say, hey, we're building on Say. Then what's like, say this could be a customer, it could be LP, it could be a user.
yeah.
How does that happen? Like,
So I give you a straight pitch about Monna, which is the perfect answer, to be honest. Hopefully, it's gonna be like this in practice once we're live. So there's two major USPs that we wish to have on Monna, on mainnet. So in about a month and a half from now, the first, the first important thing is discoverability of what are the options for a DeFi user on Say, which are the blue chip options and strategies to partake. And we wish to have Monna as the single place in which people just log in and they see on their dashboard whatever options are available of blue chip strategies for DeFi on Say. So that's the first thing, discoverability. And we couple that, so the discoverability aspect with the leverage. So unlocking liquidity, giving more power in terms of capital to DeFi users, and have, at the end of the day, a very functional, simple, intuitive portfolio management of different strategies and positions that people hold in DeFi, specifically on Say. So that would be, what I would like to see, because we're doing exactly that. And that could be a way to simplify users' life when they join Say for the first time. So if I, as a newbie on Say, I just arrived and I discover Monna for whatever reason, maybe I have more easy understanding of what I could do, and I could basically take action faster. So that could be my answer.
sounds good. Jen?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to this. So the perspective I get when I say we're building, Bancor is building on Say, I think is depending on who you're talking to, right? Bancor has been building DeFi products since 2017 and has really only been on Ethereum. So to hear that Bancor has expanded natively, deployments, Carbon DeFi is licensed. You'll find licensed deployments elsewhere, but by Bancor, Carbon DeFi is on Ethereum and is on Sei. So it's intriguing to people, like why Sei, right? And so when you tell them what it is about Sei that's really got your attention and why you chose to build on Sei and your vision for it, um, they want to know more, they want to learn more. So I think there's that, right? How can we make that better in terms of perspective? I think, like Racer was saying, it's very early on for Sei in a couple of different aspects. I think really in like what Lorenzo was saying, just discoverability in general, right? Sei has definitely made its presence known, but the DeFi sector is still very new and it's expanding. And so I think that really just continuing to have the sort of presence that we are as builders, and that Sei is, will go a long way. I also think it's what you're saying, the collaborative effort, right? I think when we're really working together as builders, we might be able to adapt and make things better on our own, but how much better, how much farther can we take that when we all kind of put our minds together, put our products together, or different things that we have to offer? And you can integrate these little pieces or build on top of these little pieces or continue to build and expand your products to offer something really new, right? And different and um dare I say better than on some other chains, right? So I think there's a couple of different ways. I think continue speaking to the community and speaking to, the NFT projects, the NFT holders. I have gotten such a wonderful response from community members that are longtime community members on Sei who are really just, hey, I've really only been into NFTs. Like this makes me want to get into DeFi. Like I want to discover this. Maybe we can get together. I want to learn about this. And I think that is a really solid approach, for projects, for Sei, for the ecosystem. Yes, I do think, taking what is the moment and really capitalizing on that just as an ecosystem also goes a long way, right? If everybody's talking about this one thing and it's like we choose to ignore it, I think that will have an effect, obviously, right? But also getting ahead of the narrative. It's being aware of the narrative and getting ahead of the narrative and not necessarily us building our own, but building something different. So I think we are heading in the right direction. I like the pace that it's at. You see these different projects that are collaborating and that are launching and either choosing Sei for the first time for their specific reasons or, you know, expanding onto Sei for maybe those same reasons, maybe different reasons. But I have gotten nothing but positive feedback from, or responses, I should say, reactions from those that I have personally spoken with about us being on Sei.
That's amazing, and thank you so much for sharing those thoughts. I do feel like there's a mix of things. Like one is, say, as an ecosystem, standalone ecosystem definitely has a lot more advantages in whether that was speed, whether that's how finality is achieved, kind of like different options it gives to the builders to create more novel use cases. So definitely that's there. And in terms of like bringing what Racer was mentioning, I do also feel like this competition is like beyond just like technical capabilities, but also its go-to-market strategy, and like the success of applications on any ecosystem depends on how liquidity is created for it, how quickly people are able to get started with an ecosystem. And right now, with so many different chains coming up, so many different ecosystems launching, more and more chain abstraction heading out, I feel like it's very, very important kind of like to create like a flywheel effect. And good point there by Racer is like trying to bring those assets, trying to create the way where it becomes interesting for people to deploy their capital on Sei, which then starts to flow into other applications, and then you are able to see that network effect start to happen, which of course happens also with collaborative efforts within the application. So it's like still I feel early on to see what those would be those applications or a bunch of applications that create that snowball effect for the overall thing to come together. But yeah, also is like the last one I feel like from my end, what I see is like right now there's very important thing for Sei to focus on. What's the focus area? One thing that Sei is focused on to try to create like nail it and then kind of like grow from there. For example, when I think about like Base, for example, today has become like very consumer crypto focused. So like a lot of any application that want to launch a consumer crypto thing, especially like after Farcaster and multiple others. Like there was Friend.tech earlier there. Now they've of course created their own super chain, but like it's become like everyone wants to launch payments. Anyone wants to launch like a social fi application. They're going to Base. Similarly, you want to do something which is very degen, you probably are going to build on Blast. And similar way, it's like each application, like we're moving away from like general purposed L1 or L2 narratives and like trying to draw attention of like a certain builders and along with that certain users that are coming in. And I think so that's very important for any ecosystem to do today. And I feel like Sei has that potential, kind of like very similar to what Solana had, like high TPS, kind of like saying, okay, there are these use cases that cannot be built anywhere else, and then sort of like supporting teams that are enabling those use cases and going like hammer down onto those use cases and saying, okay, this is not possible, kind of creating case studies along with that. That brings in trust, that brings users, that brings more builders to come into ecosystem, brings in that capital, which can create the cycle effect. So that's one thing that I definitely would like to see. I 100% agree that there's a lot of things happening within Sei. There's discoverability for sure, and Sei team has been doing a phenomenal job in kind of helping builders find discoverability beyond just like the Sei ecosystem, and that's with integration of different analytics dashboards, or whether that's bringing like DeFi Llama, they have Flipside Crypto, or DBank has come in. So kind of like saying users don't find it so alienating, and like in general, like other external capital can see now on these dashboards what's happening. So that's very interesting. With that, I think so. We're just coming up to the close of the spaces, and what I would like to ask you all is, what's the few things that users can do today to get involved with, say, Carbon DeFi, with Mona or Yaka Finance, and we can go in the same order. What do you guys think, like, what community can do right now if, like, say, you have to highlight some action points for the community today? Jen, do you want to get started?
Sure, I don't mind. Lorenzo has his hand up, though. I don't know if maybe he had a comment or wanted to add to what you were saying previously.
No, go, Jen. I had a stupid comment and something a little bit more smart, but let's cut to the chase.
Okay. Yeah, well, I always invite all of the community, and I say that in its entirety, right? I say that as other projects, or like I'm speaking to other projects, I'm speaking to liquidity providers, I'm speaking to traders. When I say everyone in the community, it's a general sort of outreach, but my DMs are always open. I am so happy to jump on calls with everyone. I mean, if I haven't reached out to you yet, I will be because I want to get to know you. I want you to get to know not only what Bancor and Carbon DeFi are building, but me also, you know. I want to be able to hear your feedback, right? Like I said, Bancor has been building innovative, you know, technology, these sorts of products that can really help push this space forward and push DeFi specifically forward, right? So I want to know what it is that you see, you know, DeFi may be lacking, or where can we fill this void, or where can we, and I say we, you know, Bancor, the DAO, what can Bancor do? What can Carbon DeFi do to really help you excel and to grow, and to really just get the sort of results that you want? And I say that again, generally, as a product, where do you want to be? As a trader, what are the sort of results that you want from your trades? You know, as a liquidity provider, what is it that you find so difficult? Because concentrated liquidity, for example, on Carbon DeFi isn't your traditional concentrated liquidity. Carbon DeFi is not an AMM. It does something very different at its core. And so I think this is something that I want others to really see and be able to recognize. And you might not just see that from going to the UI, knowing all of these different nuances. Um, so I definitely encourage everybody to reach out to me, obviously, to visit say.carbondefi.xyz and bancor.network as well. There you'll be able to learn more about the ARB Fastlane and maybe how it can act as a liquidation mechanism for what it is that you're building, or assist in your liquidations, insist in bootstrapping your liquidity, or in helping something work a little bit more efficiently. I just want to really speak to everyone and hear from everyone as well, not just speak, but really hearing that feedback. Join the Telegram. Carbon DeFi XYZ is the Telegram. If you have any questions and you don't want to reach out to me in DMs for whatever reason, please feel free. But yeah, I mean, on all different levels, there are so many different ways to really get involved and to learn about what it is that we are bringing to Sei. Bancor is bringing to Sei.
Amazing. Racer, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So unfortunately, we actually yesterday we actually concluded our stage 2 campaign, which is quite sad. So recently we don't have any active campaigns going on, but like within I think 2 weeks time we'll be fully we'll be launching on we'll be launching the mainnet of Yaga Finance, which allows users to do another round of campaign. This time it's going to be super fun, and I would say like a little bit of rewarding as well, because we are adding quite some airdrop to it. So make sure you stay tuned on our social media. Make sure you join our Discord. We have like super supportive and helpful mods. Yeah, just join our Discord and follow up on Twitter. I think that's it. So more information will come out, I believe, next week. Yes.
Awesome. Lorenzo?
Yeah, pretty simple, guys. Even if we're lagging behind development time, we're gonna be soon there. So I invite everybody to join our Discord, which is gonna serve as the prime platform in which we're gonna gather some feedback, which is super valuable. And of course, follow us on Twitter and keep track of our news. I think it's summer for everybody. Maybe some of us will meet at ETC soon, for whatever reason. But I think that from September onwards, things gonna ramp up for everybody here. So thank you, Abhitesh, for organizing this, for inviting us, and hopefully this becomes the Say DeFi podcast very soon, and we're gonna have a nice studio and some I don't know, some pizza offered by Abhitesh, right?
Absolutely. I need just a pump to come in. It's just, as you said, like things are getting more and more interesting. So definitely, that's a goal, right? To make it a repository. But thank you so much, everyone, like just for highlighting that. If you want to get involved with Filament, we have our testnet live. We have a bunch of things going on. If you're part of communities such as like Yaka Finance, which had the NFT collection, and we have done it with a bunch of other communities. You can be part of the guilds. It's just as like Dota style guilds, so you can compete with each other. There are a lot of like feedback campaigns that we run as well. So just like you can just go to our Discord and you will find everything to get involved with. And I can speak to what Jen was saying, what Racer was saying. I have got a chance to kind of like initiate conversation with both the teams. Very super helpful. And after this call, probably with initiating with Macro and Lorenzo as well, who are from Mono team, to see once they like go live. We would love to have Filament as well there as a discoverability platform. With that being said, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I know every one of you has been listening to this patiently. We had more than 20 people always on the spaces. That's a great progress that's happening. And we'll keep doing these things, and we're just like trying to bring in more and more value for everyone, as well as like having these platforms for people to kind of also connect, like projects to connect, and that's the full intent of it. Super excited for what Sei has to offer, so Sei DeFi ecosystem has to offer, and the whole community. So with that, have a great week ahead and weekend. Bye-bye, take care, and see you in the next one.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much. Great
Thank you.
speaking with all of you. And thank you to all of the
Cheers,
listeners
guys.
as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye.